So you should already know what my favorite months are, the positive end of things. And now as we go across this busy road in the late afternoon, we're going to talk about my least favorite months. So 8th place I told you was February. Now why do I like February so much? I don't like cold, and I especially do not like it when there's 10 inches of snow on the ground, which happened literally all last month, February. Well, the reason why I could say I like February so much is simply just because in the month of February, you have longer days. You know, the days start out about 10 hours and they expand to 11 and a quarter hours as you go into March. Even though it's very cold in February, the days are getting longer and it's getting slightly warmer. Insolation too starts out at about 33 degrees and ends at about 42 degrees. So you also enjoy that nice 9-degree insolation jump. I always love those. Essentially, February is a period where, in terms of light, you know, your morning commutes don't become so brutal anymore, and you still have some time in the evening. You can't take an afternoon walk or anything like that unless you have a very early dinner, which I sometimes do. But you can still have a lot of time to walk, and this is where you might start to have later meals as you head into February, just because you want to soak up all that daylight that you can and eat as it gets dark. And you're going to continue to do that probably until a time change in early to mid-March, in which point the morning commutes become temporarily hostile for about the rest of the month, though they actually get better probably more like the end of the month. In the last week they start to get better. And this is because of how much daylight you gain in March. Like, again, even though you lose an hour, you really only lose 11 minutes of morning time, and you gain like over an hour and a half of afternoon time. Now, in case you don't know where the area I'm walking to is, that is Sylvia Lane, and that's the McDonald's right by it. That is the highway interchange. I've never walked on the side before. This is Margaret Lane. We're going to actually be exploring down here a little bit, which is actually going to be very cool. I haven't actually ever gotten a chance to walk down this road before. I've only drove on it 3 times, so yeah. Currently it's 4:01, in case you're wondering. From that point it's about 15 minutes to my house, but we can't actually go specifically from there because of that, the lack of a light. So we're gonna actually wind up looping back around, probably to Gromans, crossing there, and then sneaking back up Stauber as we have to proceed onto our way home. So I have to account for the fact I'm going to need 20 minutes to go back home. So essentially it's probably turn around at about 4:10 to make sure that I have enough time to, well, get to my house before 4:45. So, but yeah, that's what the thing about March is. And February is kind of the beginning of that process. So when February begins, the sun rises just before 7 and sets just after 5. By the end of the month, though, the sun will rise about 6:30 and the sun will set well after 5:30. Again, you're gaining a lot of daylight in February. You know, February is kind of where, if we were to have no temperature lag, February would honestly be a quite mild month. So would August. But February is just that kind of month where it's like I always feel things are improving, but it's just they're not improving fast enough. Like, for example, the close to equinox season, in my opinion, is a season where, at least here, the sun will rise in close to due east and set in due west. That doesn't begin until February 25th, unfortunately, and it ends in about like April 10th or so. Now, and by the way, see what happened to this road. This road is very cool, so I would recommend watching. What happens in, February is that September is that on the evening of September 1st. So September 1st, sun rises in the northeast, and then it sets close to but it sets close to due west, as it has a slight variation during the day that enables this to happen. And that goes on until October 15th. So again, it's about a month and a half on both sides. And then you have 4.5 months of each where it's not going to be in this position. So really, it actually only happens for about a quarter of the year. And at the end of February, you begin to get close into this area. Now, it is unfortunate though that February has to be ruined by a lot of snow. I think that really, if you were to live more interior, February has a lot to offer. And it's simply because when you have less temperature lag, February is going to be a better month. Like the coldest day for our oceans is actually going to be February 23rd. And it's just because the ocean takes so damn long to heat up. Because, because of its specific heat, which is 4.18 of something, I don't know. We learned it last year, and now I completely forgot about it. It's 4.18 of something. Compare this to the land, which is about 0.4. So, the land has about 6 times less specific heat than the ocean does. By the way, if you're wondering what's happening, at this pole, this is actually what becomes a pseudo service road. I don't consider it to be a service road though, because there's no ramp from this road to the highway, and no exits from this highway to the road. Unlike what you have at Radcliffe Road, where there's a ramp, and Wallace Drive, where there's an exit. As an example, so there's no connections. So actually, I want to really consider, like, for example, you could be on the highway over there and see me, which I think is really cool. Now, February is going to be my 8th favorite month. I don't like February, especially because it's cold a lot of the time and it snows. But those long days when you can actually walk, it's really, really nice when you can just take those late walks, which you lose the ability to do so after the time change. And honestly, it's probably because of the late solar noons, which is why morning commutes in the beginning of February are actually just as hostile as they are right now, because of when the earliest sunrise is in early January. But by the end of February, it actually gets about to the level of, if not slightly better than, what it was immediately when the clocks went back. It's just that now you have an hour more of daylight in the evening to enjoy. That was exhausting. And I still have 4 more months to go over. So I believe my next least favorite month, if I remember correctly from my previous video, I think it's July. And you might be wondering, well, Andrew, if you hate the oppressive heat, then why would you put July as your 9th favorite month? Why wouldn't you put it further down the list? Well, July begins with 15 hours and 4 minutes of daylight, which is actually just 2 minutes less than on the summer solstice. It begins with a sunrise of about 5:30 and a sunset of about 8:30, which it practically is throughout June. In the month of July, though, this gets worse. It declines to about 14 and a quarter hours, where the sun will rise just before 6 and set just after 8. But that still is quite nice. Oh, also, if you're on a motorcycle, definitely don't weave between lanes, and I would recommend stay clear of the motorcycles altogether. They're pretty dangerous. But July has all that insulation to offer, and it can just be out so late that honestly, when it doesn't get super hot, when the real field doesn't feel like 90 degrees, which I know is about half of July, but when it isn't so oppressive, it honestly can be good. Also, July is the beginning of summer break, but unlike August, it isn't dominated by all the summer assignments. You can just take time to relax, because I'm not the person who hates school, but I really do find homework to be a little bit oppressive sometimes. But by August, and even the end of July, I always feel like I'm back. I have a lot of assignments that I have to get done. Now, This year I actually had 2. I had 8 pages of math to fill out that I wound up actually only getting a 68 on. That took me that I actually did in the middle of July, starting in. But then my other thing was a science research paper that I wound up getting 100 on. That I didn't really begin until mid-August, and I didn't until early August, and I didn't even finish it until early September, actually just before school started. Actually, I might have gotten it like the very, very last day of August. I might have gotten it, and then I don't know. Now July, the insolation starts at about 72 degrees. It ends though with it being about 67 degrees. That is partially why I like it so much. Well, I don't really like it. It's just that I don't want to say that's why I like it. It's just why July's kind of a good month. But because, well, not really a good month, but it's why I'm not putting it in the bottom quarter. So now, what is in the bottom quarter? Well, it starts off in the current month of December. If you don't believe me, that's December. Well, first of all, it's 4/10. See, look, December 3rd. So, December has brutally early sunsets. Like, they start out being 4:26 p.m. They stabilize at that level for the first half of the month. As the sunrise continues to deteriorate, and it goes from 6:58 to 7:17, the winter solstice is in this month, where you have your shortest day of exactly 9 hours and 15 minutes. And around that, you only lose a gain. A second. And in the whole month, you have under 9.5 hours of daylight. Like, I'm not even kidding about that. It's so short, your length of days. And the whole month, you also have you also have very low lying levels of insolation. In many communities in the Arctic Circle, the sun simply doesn't even rise. In Murmansk, the sun rose and set on December 1st, and when that sun went down on the afternoon of December 1st, it ain't gonna rise again until January 15th. And I really want you to understand just how long that is. Like, honestly, December also is when it begins to get really cold. It's starting on December 11th, and until March 11th, the low will average below freezing. But it can easily get below freezing without that. Nice days, is in warm days, come through precipitation and clouds. A bright sunny day will be a cold day from about November to February. But that'll peak its impact at the end of December. As you push deeper and deeper into fall, December is at the deepest in fall you go before you're in true winter. And it's not even like temperature lag is going to keep you that warm anymore. Temperature lag keeps you warm in September, October, the beginning of November, but then its effects really start to wear down as you push throughout November. So, as such, December is a pretty miserable month. Now, next is going to be January. And you might be wondering, well, why are you putting January there? It's cold as well. Well, first of all, the days are improving. And by the end of the month, while the sunrise will be at 7:18 a.m. for a week. And then it'll improve up to 7:04. I know. By the way, in December, the sun sets, I think, only go up to 4:38. The sunsets begin at that point, and then they go to about like 5 or 6 by the end of the month. So you do get, if you don't get to exactly 10-hour days, you get very, very close to 10-hour days. And that's an impact that I like to really emphasize, is that it might be cold, there might be snow on the ground, it might be single digits Fahrenheit, but at least your day lengths are improving. And if you could handle the cold by bundling up, which I could do if I had to, then you can really just take advantage of the fact that the days are getting longer, especially at the end of the month. Oh, also, by the way, I do not like midterms. And finally, my dead least favorite month is thy month of August. Why do I not like August at all? It's because August is still brutally hot, with nights averaging in the upper 60s and days averaging in the 80s. It packs the same type of humidity. About half the time, August is even warmer than July. You're just sick of it at that point. And you don't even have super long days. They begin at, as I said, 14 and a quarter hours. But by the time it ends, the sunrise is getting close to 6:30. The sunset, I think, is before 7:30. And your length of day, yeah, it's just over 13 hours at that point. So you can't even have super high insulation to boast about it. As the insulation goes from 67 to 58 degrees, this is the effect of temperature lag that's prolonging your already brutal summer. Hence why, in no way, shape, or form, do I like the month of August. It's just a type of a painful month. By the way, I will soon make a video that actually describes some of my worst situations during the summer. I recommend you watch it. A lot of it isn't on temperature, but a lot of it isn't on temperature either. So, cool video. Okay, goodbye.